Good morning, everybody. There are three new archetypes for Dungeons and Dragons Online. We've got the Dark Hunter Ranger, you got the Acolyte of the Skin Warlock, and you got the Blightcaster Druid. Now, with all these three archetypes coming out, there's going to be people doing all sorts of crazy builds, testing stuff, multi-classing, building everything that they can. But even though that sounds like a great idea to run at it and get as much as you can done in a short period of time, sometimes you really want to find something basic, something simple to follow along with, because what if you don't exactly know what to do? And that's what I'm here to provide for you today. I am going to be doing a lot of testing in the future with some of the different archetypes. In fact, I'm currently running a Dark Hunter through the game. I'm going to be doing some cool Blightcaster stuff, some cool Acolyte of the Skin stuff, and some fun multi-classes. I wanted to get out a very simple set of build guides for you to be able to follow right away. So we're going to start in with the Dark Hunter. Now, the Dark Hunter is a very cool tree. It's got a wolf. It's got an instant kill inside of it and lots of sneak attack damage. But for all intents and purposes, my plan is to give you a Tempest Ranger who can use some Dark Hunter stuff. And so the build guide I have provided for you is important note. All these build guides are free to play, by the way, so you can just kind of keep that ahead of time. If you're like, oh, what if I don't own the thing? Everything's going to be free. Everything's going to be easy to follow. All 28-point builds. So if you just started Dungeons and Dragons Online today, you'll be able to follow all this stuff. But we'll be playing a Drow Dark Hunter, which I have lovingly called Drid's Dodurden because it is a dual-wielding scimitar trapping type character. However, it has much less of a focus on the actual Dark Hunter tree, just because I'm not 100% certain how I feel about a lot of the different abilities, and if you're getting started with the game, Tempest is a much better option. So the Tempest Ranger version of the build will be just dual-wielding scimitars. It's going to be slashing around everybody, doing tons of AoE damage, and be very, very easy to level. On top of the fact that you're able to disable pretty much every single trap in the game, and you get access to sweet medium armor, so your character is much tankier than it would generally be. I've also made sure to include that you still get the wolf pet in the build, and also all the good spells and tons of sneak attack damage. So you can sneak around and just assassinate people, do crazy things. Not assassinate, I did not include the assassinate, but you do so much damage, it's like if you kill him in one hit, isn't that basically an assassinate? And that is the idea behind the Dark Hunter. So it's very straightforward. It is a Drow scimitar using Dark Hunter, dex-based. That should be relatively easy to follow and allow you to go and get through the game. And as a reminder, something I should have said earlier is that all the builds I'm talking about, all the things that I'm showing you on screen, you'll be able to do yourself as long as you just go in the link in the description and get all the build guides there. Next up after that, we have the Blightcaster. Now, the Blightcaster is very, very cool, but it's not super complicated to actually play it as a caster, which is why I'm going to be including that. I don't really need to do a lot of testing to know, is the Blightcaster going to be good or bad? Because, of course, it's going to be good. It's based off of Druid, and Druid is very good. So, to circumvent that, it's basically just going to be a bit of a progressionary sense, what you need and how to kind of build up through the trees and what have you, and what are some of the important key things, the highlights that you want to pick up. The character is going to start going with the Thornkin form as early as possible and using all of the Thorn spell-like abilities, because from level 1 to 20, the Thorn spells are going to carry you through the entire way. They do piercing damage, they're basically non-resistible, most of them don't even have saving throws, so even if your items are garbage and you haven't been able to find anything to put on, you don't have any wisdom, who cares? They cost almost 0 mana as well, because you can just use these spell-like abilities, and Spike Growth is also incredibly amazing. So as a result, it will be very easy to level, and you're going to be using most of the Thorn spells. However, as you get closer up to 20 and above 20, you'll be able to swap from the Thorn stuff into the Hive stuff, using the Hive form instead, and focusing much of your focus on acid damage as opposed to the physical damage. The main reason for this is that while the physical damage is still pretty cool and can work in epics, I didn't really create the build to be heavily focused on the Thorn stuff. I made it more focused on the acid. You're still going to use some of the Thorn stuff, of course, the extra critical chance from the winter season in the Season's Herald, as well as the extra critical chance in the Blightcaster tree itself, will work very well when combining all of the extra crit with the ruin spells that you can get later on for very powerful acid and force damage ruins for just trucking people for like half or 50,000 damage almost. It'll feel very good when you actually get there. However, in the interim, you're just going to be, as I said, starting with the Thorn spells and then moving into the Acid spells post level 20. It should be fairly easy to play, as some of the video you're probably observing here. I'm just kind of blasting down every single monster almost with one spell each, and it feels great. And then Spike Growth kind of just takes care of most of the monsters themselves. So really easy to play and very straightforward. A thing you need to know, though, about the Blightcaster is that the healing on Blightcaster, it's not amazing. You're still going to be missing out on the instantaneous cures to get your health back. So if you do plan on playing on Reaper mode with a brand new First Life character, it might be a little bit harder to get through some of the stuff, because if you start dying, you don't have really a way to stop the bleeding. However, you can do this incredibly easily on Elite difficulty, or if you do play on Reaper mode, you can heal other people still fairly well with your Vigor spells, with your Regenerates, right at the beginning of the game. Just if you're trying to do it solo, you might run into some problems. Now, when I say might, I did play around with some Reaper mode when I first tried out this character, and you get a lot of temporary HP from an effect called Death Eater at level 6, which means that you get your Wisdom added on to as temporary hit points onto your character. And yeah, that's actually really, really good. It's so good, in fact, that I was able to take a First Life character with no items and run a bunch of Reaper mode without really any trouble. So maybe post 6, you can do whatever you want, but definitely before 6, you got to be a little bit careful. Use some of that Wolf form. Use that Thorn Blade spell that the game gives you now as a melee, kind of like the Flame Blade, but it does acid damage. Very, very cool and visually fantastic. I love the way the actual weapon looks. So it's a great weapon, and hopefully we actually get the model on a real weapon we use later in the game. But I'm going on a tangent. Blightcaster will be powerful, and I look forward to seeing people play the Blightcaster. However, last but not least, we have Acolyte of the Skin. Now, Acolyte of the Skin, you're going to play generally like a regular Warlock. I don't really think there's anything too complicated here. You're taking the meta magic feats, Maximize, Empower, and Quicken, just like every other spellcaster in the game, but you want to be using this stuff for your eye beams, your glares that you're going to be dealing damage with. There's also the beam, and I tried out the beam the first time, and it felt pretty bad. Trying out the beam again, now that it's actually live, it feels a lot better than I initially thought. The beam is wider, it kind of hits more monsters, and it moves a lot faster, plus it does more damage. So overall, I think the beam is not too bad, generally, and I think you can use it, but I think the chain may also be good as an alternative. So again, it's going to be a little bit of a wait and see. So in the build, I've included 3 different Eldritch stances. You're probably going to start with the beam just because it's really easy to get, it's easy to use. But Chain will also be there because Chain can be quite good. So you want to go for the Eye Glare, get that Eye Glare first, is the first point. Then maybe grab the Beam, maybe grab the Chain afterwards, and kind of move around. However, one thing that is important about this build is while it does use the entirety of the Acolyte of the Skin tree, picking up all the good offensives, all the good defensives, and it feels, honestly, just super strong. Out of the Tainted Scholar tree, this build also wants to pick up on the Enervating Shadow. It is a Eldritch Blast stance that does even more single target damage, which is what you want to swap to for a single target. It makes a pretty big contrast with Chain, dealing 50% more damage than Chain. So you essentially just chain stuff through your quest, and you're going boom, 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 chain, chain, chain. And then when you get to the boss, that's when you kind of just hit him with the Enervating Shadow, swap to do 50% more damage, and you're going to be just laughing all the way to the bank. I don't think anyone's going to have any difficulty actually leveling with an Acolyte of the Skin. Like it's a Warlock, which already has no issues, but on top of that, it's like an even higher damage Warlock because of the different fear effects and the fact that you get so many so much, what is the word I'm looking for? Spell power out of the tree. You get a lot more spell power out of Acolyte of the Skin than any of the other Warlock trees, which is nice. So you can kind of get some of that early damage. Even if you don't have any weapons involved, you're still going to have a fair amount of damage during the leveling process. And then once you start picking up more critical damage and packed damage out of the Tainted Scholar tree, you're going to feel really good and very, very strong. I also decided to go with Tiefling because it seemed to fit, like Tiefling forming with a demon. They're already kind of has that demon heritage, so why not just kind of fuse those ideas? But you don't have to play a Tiefling. You can play a Dragonborn or whatever you want. I just figured Tiefling would be the way to go about it. However, the kind of confusing thing is in Epics. You see, in Epics, I decided Exalted Angel was the best because after looking over it, I was like, well, this character does a lot of evil damage, which gives off light spell power. It does a lot of fire damage, which gives off fire spell power. And what's the light and fire tree? Exalted Angel. So you will be an angel with an angelic form and a demonic form that can be active at the same time, which I think is very interesting, but also genuinely very powerful. Gaining access to Holy Fireball, Cure Wounds Mass, and being able to deal a bunch of extra light and fire damage on all of your abilities. Some people have thought that, you take the Tiefling so you can get the fire immunity bypass. I don't think you'd really need it. You do so much non-fire damage already, so much light damage, and I really don't think it's necessary. So the build that I have set up is an Exalted Angel with some Draconic Incarnation for the Dragon Breath, because it's just kind of too good and better than anything else. But I really love the idea, and I think it fits really well. I'm going to be playtesting some of this when I get there, but as I said before, I haven't really got the chance to play around with an epic Acolyte of the Skin, but I'm a very seasoned Warlock player, and when I played a Fiend Warlock the last time, I did use the Exalted Angel tree, and I gotta say, Holy Fireball, if you've never pressed that button on the keyboard, man, there's nothing that feels like it. It just feels so amazing. So these are your different builds. This is what you have to look forward to. So hopefully they help you out. As I said, builds are in link in the description if you want to get them down there. Yeah, I want to get this video out as soon as I could. So thank you for watching. If you like what you saw, make sure to scramble that go jamble button, hit all the things, help me out there, and tune in next time where I've got another video that you probably want to watch, but I don't know what it is yet because I'm just riffing as I go. I was able to improvise the last minute or however many minutes of content, but I can't do it anymore because my brain is fried and I gotta eat some dinner. So thank you for watching. Enjoy your evening. Goodbye, you people, everybody.